right, Aubrey. Welcome to the show,
Hey,
Aubrey and
Jess.
everyone.
Welcome to you and everyone. How's it going?
Fantastic. I feel like I'm always animal sitting for people. Um, and this week and next week, I'm dog sitting for a friend, and his name is Jake. Jake the dog. He is named after the dog in Adventure Time. Aubrey, did you or your kids ever watch Adventure Time?
No, I feel like you mentioned it to me once, but I have yet to check it out.
Oh my gosh, you guys. If you at all enjoy animation, um, I love animation. I still love animation. Steven Universe. These are both on Cartoon Network. Steven Universe and Adventure Time. These are two of the best shows ever. And Infinity Train. They're not like kids' cartoons for little kids. They're like
Right.
proper amazing shows and they're heartfelt and they're hilarious. You can watch them with your kids for sure. There's nothing inappropriate, but the jokes are high level. I mean, oof,
Right.
I love Adventure Time so much. That's my recommendation today.
That's like Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I used to
Oh,
listen
I
to, I'll
love
watch it
that
all the time.
show.
It's so funny. Adult humor, like you said, not necessarily inappropriate, but just kids won't get most of the jokes. There's actually a
Yeah.
new Glass Animals song called Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Oh,
And it's amazing
fun.
for anyone our age because there's all these references to like the Atari and games we played and shows we
I love
watched
it.
when we were like teenagers, right? Amazing.
So this reminds me of a recent episode we just did, actually, guys, because all of this stuff we're recommending, you will enjoy. This is not an English lesson. Like, this is the best way to learn English by taking in this entertainment that you would love. So if you haven't listened to IELTS Energy 1300, riddle me this: can you learn vocab from superhero movies? We taught you some fantastic high level vocab phrases in that episode, guys. And we also talked a little bit about superheroes. So definitely go back. That is a very recent episode. Riddle me this: can you learn vocab from superhero movies? And make sure, guys, to hit follow right now while you're listening so you don't miss any more episodes.
Yes, awesome. Okay, we're going to share a listener question today that had some very interesting vocabulary and a very good question. I'll go ahead and
Mhm.
read it. All right.
Awesome.
This is from Kana Tanaka. She
Awesome.
said, I found an idiom, the elephant in the room, while listening to another podcast. I think it's easy to think of a visual image, so I can remember this idiom easily. Can I use this expression on IELTS writing? Thanks, Kana Tanaka.
Oh,
Such a good
my
question.
goodness. That is a great question. Um, I honestly wouldn't use it on IELTS writing unless it's in a letter. I think it's fine. Even for formal letters, I think that's fine, but not in an academic essay is the thing. We're going to be talking about 4 idioms today, and they all have animals in them, and they're so fun. All of these idioms, guys, they're a bit on the informal side, as most idioms are, except for the ones we taught you yesterday. Go back and listen if you haven't. Um, but yeah, to answer that question, awesome idiom. We'll talk about it, elephant in the room, but I wouldn't use it in academic writing. What do you think, Aubrey?
I agree. It's too informal.
Yeah.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that informal or rather idiomatic language is not required on your task two writing. So it would kind of take a lot of brain work to figure out how to cram this into your task two examples
Yeah.
that you don't have. You don't have that kind of time. And then it's going to feel off. Like you said, it's too informal. So avoid the very informal phrasal verbs and idioms for your
Right.
task two essay and use these for IELTS speaking, maybe your informal letter.
Exactly, exactly. All right. So, elephant in the room. This phrase describes something that you're not talking about. You are avoiding or ignoring this on purpose, even though it matters, even though it's important, or even though you're thinking about it, you're not talking about it. So, I have students ask sometimes, maybe you come from a country with some difficult political situations, or there's something negative in the news, related to a topic that you're asked about. Um, yes, you can bring this stuff up. You won't directly be asked about tough political things and difficult
Right.
news. You won't directly be asked about it. But if it's on your mind and it connects to the topic, you can say it, right? This is fluency, being able to narrate what's in your mind. So, Aubrey, what if you're asked to describe America? That's a broad question. What is like an elephant in the room type thing that you could bring up?
Ooh, good question. And we often collocate this with the verb address. I feel like I should address the
Yeah,
elephant in the room, meaning
totally.
like we're just going to name this thing we're ignoring.
Yeah,
And maybe I would talk about systemic racism in the United
sure.
States, right? Where we have
Totally.
statistics of, not everyone is treated equally by the police according to the statistics.
Yeah,
And if I'm describing something about my country that I find, troublesome, that might be great. And it would be good to say, I'm going to address the elephant in the room because I know not everybody's on the same page about this.
totally.
And that's a great way to address that. And you're recognizing that it is a little bit charged.
I just thought of an example that you could use in speaking part three. What if you're asked about like a seemingly innocuous or easy topic like social media, right? Guys, I mean, how many terrible consequences of social media are there? There's tons. You don't have to ignore those, right? Just because you're trying to like be perfect in an interview. That is not what we're doing on IELTS. We're not trying to be perfect in an interview, okay? You're just talking real thoughts here. So what if you're asked about, the use of social media among young people, maybe they're addicted to it, blah blah blah. You could say, and let us address the elephant in the room that this prevalence of social media does lead to self-harm, especially among young women. And I don't think we should ignore that, right? So don't be afraid to
Yes.
tackle tough stuff. This is the cute idiom to introduce the tough
Yes.
stuff.
Perfect. I love that so much.
All right, awesome. So, what is our next animal idiom?
Yeah, so this one is to be stubborn as a mule. And this is so fun, right? A
So good.
mule is a donkey, which is, known to be stubborn. If you're trying to get it to go where you want, it just might refuse. And so
Mhm.
we use this to describe people. It's a very fun idiom to describe someone who's pretty stubborn, to say, oh, he is stubborn as a mule. I can never get him to go anywhere but to Mexican restaurants is a good example, which totally applies to my husband whenever we're like, "Where should we go eat?" He only wants to go out for Mexican.
You know, I'm stubborn as a mule in some respects. I was stubborn as a mule growing up for sure. I think children and teens are more likely to be able to be described as such, right? Like teen girls, for example, or even my adolescent son. Like he can be stubborn as a mule when he gets it in his head that he wants to do something or that he wants something. Like it's really difficult to change his mind or to like
Absolutely.
encourage him to think about something else. But I'm not stubborn as a mule anymore. I think the older you
We
get,
have
you're
to be
just like,
flexible, right?
nah, does it really matter? Like, is this worth planting my flag on? Like, not really.
It's such a useful idiom for describing people, right?
Yeah,
Describe yourself, describe someone else. It's not overtly negative, right? It's
totally.
you're just saying someone's a little bit stubborn in a very fun, playful way.
And then remember, like, as I just used it, you could say that you're not stubborn as a mule as well. So you
Yes.
could use
Good
this for
point.
anybody because either they are or aren't, right? All
Exactly.
right. that applies to all of these actually. It either a person either is or isn't these things. So
Good
remember
point.
these idioms. Next one, quiet as a mouse. We're not quiet as a mouse. Moving on. Just kidding. What? All right. Do you know anybody that's quiet as a mouse? Obviously,
I
guys, this means very
do.
quiet, right?
Yes, right? And it just means they're maybe shy, not super talkative. One of my daughters is quiet as a mouse. It's
Oh,
like pulling teeth to get her to have a conversation with you. She's just, shy and very quiet. And even when she does talk, she's pretty quiet. And I love that you pointed that out, Jessica, because lots of my kids are not quiet as a mouse.
there
So
you
whether
go.
you're describing someone who's very loud and boisterous and outgoing, then you can say they're not. And then someone who's shy and quiet, this is lovely to call them quiet as a mouse.
It's
It sounds like it would maybe
cute.
be kind of negative, but it's really not. It's just cute.
That's really the theme to all of these animal idioms is like they're all cute. They're all cute ways to say something that might be negative. You know what I mean? Like they're all
Mhm.
kind of similar in that way. All right, our last animal idiom. that describes people is sly as a fox.
I love
So
this.
sly is actually a high level adjective, right? To mean like sneaky, mischievous, deceitful even.
Mm.
So yeah, do you know anybody that's sly as a fox?
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of love that you pointed out that it kind of means sneaky because I was thinking of it more as like intelligent, but there's
Oh,
definitely this implication of sort of sneaky intelligence. Absolutely, right?
yeah. Okay, I see why you would go to that as your first meaning because I often use this to describe people who like sneak something into a conversation that I wasn't expecting. Okay, my son is
Yes.
sly as a fox when he is asking to do things. Like he will
Absolutely.
start a conversation about one thing, but he knows where it's going. Like he knows that
Yes.
he is justifying something he is going to ask for later.
The
You know?
planning. There's planning involved. Yes.
Strategic.
Yes. There's strategy involved. Absolutely, right?
Exactly.
I think of some of the, like, reality shows I've seen where people have to be so strategic in order to do well on these shows.
Ugh, it's
This would be
exhausting.
perfect to describe, like, someone on Survivor. They're sly as a fox, right?
Yeah, that's
So you may
true.
know someone like that, or you may be like that yourself, and if so, you can
Sure.
describe them this way. If not, you can always say, "They're not exactly sly as a fox," they would never be deceitful, but they are extremely bright, something like that.
Or I thought of another use for this, guys. What if there's a person in your life who, even like a boss, for example, who it is difficult to ask them for things, right? Or this person often says no to requests. And you
Mm.
could be like, the only thing, honestly, that I dislike about my job is that I really have to be sly as a fox when I am asking my manager or my boss for something. So yeah, so that's another way that you can possibly use it in speaking part one. All right, Aubrey, what are the four phrases that we learned today?
These are all so useful, guys. Idioms where you can describe someone using an animal in the idiom. Elephant in the room, stubborn as a mule, quiet as a mouse, and sly as a fox. These are all so
Awesome.
useful for IELTS speaking.
They're so fun. So fun. All right, guys. Thank you for listening today. We'll be back again next week, but make sure to hit follow right now so you don't miss any more IELTS energy. All
Yes,
right, Aubrey.
awesome.
Thanks for chatting today.
Yep, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.